Hello there, and welcome to episode number 126 of the WP Café show, the show where we share our real, unfiltered experiences of running our WordPress agency, Highrise Digital, and building our WordPress products, RecPress and Job Relay. I'm Mark Wilkinson, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Keith Devon. We're from Highrise Digital, a tiny WordPress agency where we build websites and products. And today we're going to be diving into some front-end fun and also kind of like a weird Yoast thing that we found this week that you might find useful if you come across the same problem that we did. You can follow us on X. We're at WP Café Show. We are also on Blue Sky and on the web at wpcafe.show. So you should be able to find us there. If you enjoyed the episode, you want to listen to more like this, please consider subscribing, liking the video, leave us a comment, and please share us around with your colleagues, people that you might think might find this interesting. It would be very much appreciated. So that'd be good. But let's get straight into today's show. How are you, Keith? How has your week been? What exciting things have you been up to? And maybe what not so exciting things have you been up to?
It's been a good week. I've been busy, and it's felt really nice to be working on stuff that I love to do. So turning designs into websites, basically, is what I've always loved doing, and I still love doing. So yeah, we've got this client who came up with some slightly amended designs, mainly around the kind of main landing pages on the website. I think we spoke briefly about it last time, and it's our job now to turn those designs into working WordPress pages, and all that entails, which is really good. So I've actually really enjoyed working with the block editor. It's not a full site editing site, but working within the constraints of the block editor has been fun, and like just trying to work out how to do things within it, and it's good. It's pretty good.
We'll get onto that, I'm sure.
Yeah, so all that stuff. And then what else has been going on? Not too much. Bit of cycling. Feeling nice and fit at the minute. So that's been nice. The weather's still been good. Yeah, it's been a good week, but yeah, busy because I'm going away on my holidays soon. So there's lots to tidy up before I go. But yeah. What about yourself? What's been happening?
I had an excellent round of golf yesterday. I mean, off the planet excellent. Like, I went round in 73, 2 over par. For those of you that don't play golf, that's pretty good. So that was good. Still on a bit of a high from that, to be quite honest with you. No doubt I'll go and play in the morning. All excited, and I'll shoot 95. But there we go. That's just golf.
Yeah.
Anyway. Back to WordPress stuff.
So my compatriot Rory McIlroy, I saw that he broke the Royal Portrush record when he was 16. I think he still holds it.
He does.
So he shot a 61.
Correct.
And it's a par
71.
What? That's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
our course is a par 71 as well, and I shot 73. So I'm quite proud of that.
Yeah, 73 is really good. It just shows, though, just getting down to those 16 years old. What on earth? Anybody struggling, isn't he, over the weekend? Not this is a show about golf, but thought I'd tie golf and Northern Ireland together neatly. But yeah, come
well,
on,
the Open
Rory.
is at Northern Ireland, isn't it, at the moment?
It
so
is.
That's where
It's on that course. So yeah.
It is, yes.
There you
so
go.
What else have I been up to? The usual stuff, really. Nothing too exciting. Some bug fixes to do. This morning, actually, I was dealing with restricting Google API keys we use Google APIs for like the maps and geocoding and things. We got an email from Google saying you are using an unrestricted key. And I remember doing it now. I remember setting it up and then thinking about, we'll have to do that later, because I couldn't get it to work when I restricted it. It just kept failing.
Right.
Anyway, we can talk about that in a minute if you want, but that's something to get into. Other than that, it's just been the usual stuff for me. Bits and bobs here and there, a few calls, a few sales calls, a few support frustrations, and just cracking on with stuff. Nothing as exciting as your digging into some good old development work. So
it's been good.
We've got 3 things, probably more, it'll end up being, as it usually does when we rant along, to have a chat about today. First of all, If you're watching along live on YouTube, as Jackson is from Italy, thank you very much for joining us. Do say hello in the comments. And if you have any questions or comments about the topics that we are discussing, we're always excited to hear your thoughts. Then please get into the comments and let us know what you've got to say. So first, though, I'm going to come on to this Yoast setting and go for that one. So we had a customer send us an email, and it said it's actually to do with Job Relay, our jobs plugin that sends jobs to the website. Jobs were being sent, and then when they clicked on a job, it just redirected them to the homepage. Yeah, and we're like, I mean, that's got to be nothing to do with us. Like, we don't do anything like redirects or anything like that. They'd had a look into it, and they'd, to be fair, they'd had a good debug on staging, and the conclusion that they came to was if they turned our RecPress plugin off, this is a customer actually using both of our plugins, our products. If they turned RecPress off, it solved the problem. And I was like, really? Like, RecPress doesn't do anything with redirects. It doesn't redirect anything from anywhere to anything. But lo and behold, we looked into it, and there is a 301 redirect. When you click the link, like to go to the single post page for this job, you can see in the network inspector 301 redirect to the homepage. And when you turn RecPress off, it disappears. Yeah. So I'm like, this is really strange. So looking into it, using the inspector, I could see some stuff being output in the headers of the request, and it was all and this was just me testing it on my machine. It was all query monitor stuff. It all starts with QM, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Just query monitor. If you don't know query monitor, excellent debugging plugin from John Blackburn. Thank you. Use it. It's good. And then did some research, and it adds headers, so HTTP headers, which kind of like output debugging information about what is redirecting what to where. Mm-hmm. So Keith said, why don't you just copy all that and dump it into ChatGPT? And I did. And ChatGPT said, yeah, this is the problem. And it came up with the problem was Yoast. So I was like, really? So apparently there is a setting now in Yoast. Now, I don't know whether this is new, and I don't know whether this is something that the customer had just turned on in this particular, in the interim period where it broke. There's a setting in Yoast that says filter searches with emojis and other special characters. Now, when it means searches, it means WordPress searches, so using like the S query parameter. And what it does is, turning that on, it means that if it detects there is an emoji or an other special character in your search query, it just stops the query altogether, and I assume takes you to the homepage. It's supposed to be sort of a spam stroke bot protection thing. And that was very bizarre. So I was like, well, how come that when RecPress is turned off, does it work? And when RecPress is turned on, does it not work? So it turns out what we're doing on the RecPress single job page is we're doing a related jobs query at the bottom. And that query is based on the title of the current job. And lo and behold, the current job had a special character in the job title. It was actually, is it called an N dash, which is like two dashes together? So it doesn't look like a special character. So you look at the title and you think, what's going on? There's no special, there's no emojis or anything in there. So what was happening is that was being run to build the related jobs query. Yoast was detecting that using that setting and then blocking it and redirecting users to the homepage. So the solution was to turn that off in Yoast, or the solution was to not put any special characters in your job titles. So, as I said, I don't know why that had suddenly started happening, whether that's a new setting, whether that's a setting that they've suddenly turned on, but that was the solution to it. So it wasn't actually anything to do with RecPress as such, in that it was like broken or it was a bug. It was just that combined with the Yoast thing. And I just thought it might be useful for other people if you ever come across that issue in your own coding.
I have a few questions. I don't think you know the answers necessarily, but just to kind of put it out there. What is that setting supposed to do? You said something about spam or security, or I don't really understand how special characters could be used. I guess, is it I don't know. That's kind of weird. And then my second question is, why isn't M dash considered, I guess, any special characters? I don't know, like, what is that list of special characters? Like, are you allowed full stops, but you're not allowed exclamation mark?
That's a very good question.
What are you allowed and what are you not? And can you filter that list? Because maybe what we could have done is just filter and allowed M dashes and M dashes. I don't know. It's bizarre. So it's a weird one.
Sorry, got a big croak in my throat. The setting says filter searches with emojis and other special characters. It's under, by the way, in settings. It's under what's the section called? Internal site search cleanup. And the description says block internal site searches which contain complex and non-alphanumeric characters, as they may be part of a spam attack.
Internal. It's interesting that it's what does it mean by internal site search? It's not like an admin search because it's on this is happening on the front end. So,
well, does that mean internal, as in its search is run by code and not search is run by a person typing into an input?
Right. Okay.
Could be.
Maybe.
So if you type this into the, I guess so. I don't know. I'm hazarding a guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
anyway. Carolina makes a good point. Hi, Carolina. Had a few comments, but that last one kind of made me chuckle slightly. If it detects M dash, it's going to be a problem with all the AI generated content. There's a whole thing about M dashes being like suddenly everywhere because AI likes them, because obviously those models were like trained, probably weighted towards good content, and a lot of really good authors and writers use M dashes. So ChatGPT is very fond of an M dash. So they're kind of back in fashion, but also the pendulum's swinging the other way because nobody wants their content to look like it's generated by ChatGPT. So they're taking all the M dashes back out. It's kind of a very weird side effect of the whole AI revolution.
Yeah. It's the other thing just to mention, it's under the advanced settings in Yoast and under crawl optimization. There's actually loads of settings under crawl optimization. It's split into sections, and this is one of those settings in one of those sections. So it's just something really weird that like took us a while to figure out, and probably might catch you out. So
I think the other interesting kind of side story to this is, should this have come under the support that we offer for our product? And it's like a constant battle for us, but in the end there was no problem with the code that we wrote. We're using WordPress in the way that WordPress is intended to be used. We haven't done anything strange. Our product isn't breaking anything, and it's the combination of Yoast and our product and that particular setting that's caused the issue. So who should be on the hook for that? Because we've done hours of kind of debugging trying to get that working, and you could argue we're not getting paid for it. You could argue we are getting paid for it because that's what people pay us their annual subscription for, which is kind of the argument that I took in the end. But it is always interesting. It's like, oh, there's a problem with your plugin. Can you fix it for us? And we're like, yeah, okay, we'll fix it. Hang on, that wasn't a problem with our plugin. Are you going to pay us? It's just like, I don't know. I mean, it's fine. We can write that one off as a, but it's just, it's that ongoing conversation that we have. And you're quite often like, how would other plugin companies deal with this? So Carolina's there. If they'd gone to Yoast directly, how much assistance to Yoast given these things? Like, would they have set up a dev environment and try to fix it? Or I don't know. I sometimes feel like we're over the top with our customer service, and sometimes feel like it's exactly what we should be offering. It's not. It's just not clear cut, is it? And it's especially not clear cut when you don't know the answer yet.
Yeah. My initial response was like, oh, well, it probably took us an hour, the two of us like working together, isn't it, to try and just work out what was going on. And my issue was like, this is ridiculous. Like, we've spent 2 hours or an hour doing this, and we haven't done anything wrong. But then I just think it's good to be good, and actually they are paying for
it's just
support. So actually, that's good, and people don't often use vast amounts of it. So I think in the end, that's fine. I think they should be able to use that. And I know it wasn't ours plugin. And the other thing it taught me as well, you know, and Carolina said there, like it's good that it was found, that it was caught. That's good. It taught me is like, if someone says to you, well, when I switch off your plugin, it doesn't break, and when it's turned on, it does break. It's not necessarily your problem, like with your plugin. It got me thinking about that, because your obvious reaction is, well, I've turned that code off and now it works, and I've turned it back on and it doesn't work. So therefore, it must be that code. That's not actually always the case. Clearly, when that code is running, there's a problem, but it does not mean to say that that is the problem. It can be its combination.
There was also a big diversion because they also have a redirect plugin on that website. Yeah. And like our obvious first thing was like, it's something to do with the redirect plugin, but then you turn that off and it was still broken.
Still doing it.
And I think that threw us a little bit. I don't think we even tried turning Yoast off, because we're just like, well, like redirects are only in premium Yoast, and they don't have premium in this. So it's like, well, Yoast won't be doing any redirects. So we didn't even think to look. It was, thank goodness for Query Monitor and ChatGPT.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, we'd have got there with just Query Monitor.
Yeah,
but ChatGPT just like half the time it would have taken to sort of go through those headers and work out what was causing the issue, I think. So that was good. It was quite a satisfying fix, even though it wasn't a fix, because we had to just turn it off. But the setting, that is, anyway. So there you go. Anyway, hopefully that helps you if you ever come across an issue like that, where your pages are suddenly being redirected to the homepage for no apparent reason. It might well be the Yoast setting in combination with your plugins code or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. Moving on. Let's have a look. Where is my list of things to chat about? It's disappeared. Oh, it's in the new tab.
Front-end fun, I think.
Front-end fun is the next topic. So this ties in with, I think we talked about this last week in the new designs we've been asked to do for a client. So, and this, well, I said this pretty much wasn't me. We had a big long document, didn't we, where we broke it all down into what we needed to do. I think there's 3 custom blocks to build, which were done with ACF, relatively straightforward, and the odd other thing for me to do. The rest of it was literally like, it's just all on you. So I'll let you talk, because you enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because obviously this is a YouTube show, but it's also a podcast, so I can't just show loads of visuals and show what I've been up to. But it was just, it's the work that I really, really love to do, which is a designer has come up with some interesting designs that look really lovely, but they're challenging. You know, it's like, ooh, I wonder how I'm going to do that. I wonder how I'm going to do this. And I've so enjoyed that challenge, and I'm familiar enough now with the block editor, and we've enabled like most of what it's capable of on this site now, which has really helped. And so I know my way around the block editor fairly well, what it can and can't do. Apologies for the seagulls, if you can hear the seagulls. Had to open the door. But also just getting into just good CSS again, and like fun animations. So there's a lot of interesting layouts, like slight overlaps. But there's a lot of nice animations. So we built a block that has like a main image in the center, and we've called it floating metrics. And it has these little kind of like almost like speech bubbles just kind of hovering around the main image with a bit of text in them saying like, you know, we work in 60 plus countries, and there's a little icon in the 60 plus countries, and it hovers and it's slightly transparent, and it's all meant to animate in. Like, so we have to come up with like, well, what's the block interface look like for that? Like, how does a user actually control that? So that was a bit of a challenge, and it's a little bit hacky. We lent on ACF blocks, and like the interface isn't beautiful, but it works. You know, it does work. So they can put in their text, their image icon, and then they can position these floating things relative to the main image. So you can say like minus 10% X, plus 20% Y, and you can add as many as you want, and it's really cool. And then I got to put like a nice little kind of like parallaxy effect on it just using CSS. I think using animation timelines, I think I used for that or something. I can't remember the exact CSS for it. So there's a really subtle little parallax effect as you scroll, which is lovely. It animates in, which looks really nice. And then I tried it on mobile and I was like, oh crap, because I pulled it way off to the side, like these images. Now they're kind of moving off the screen. I was like, how am I going to fix that? And then I just came up with this really neat little solution, just using some JavaScript to detect where it was and how much it was kind of offset. And then using a custom property, I just nudge it back so it sticks to the edge of the screen and never goes kind of off either side of the screen. So that was really fun, just doing little things like that. And I don't know, I think it's a combination of, block editor familiarity, back in the CSS world, and then having ChatGPT as well, just to keep the speed up, which is something we'll come to at the end. Actually, just a little note that I've added to the end of our topics. But just to keep the speed of development up, and like I don't have to rethink it every time. It's like just write a quick function using the intersection observer API to detect if this is on the page, and like that stuff's just done. So yeah, really, really fun. I'm just trying to think what else we've done. We've done the nice little sliders. We've done galleries
really nice
that like infinitely scroll. We've done another image block that whenever you scroll it into view, all the images are stacked and then they kind of separate out whenever they scroll into view. Just lots of nice little touches. So it's really satisfying for me because the design was nice. And now I'm looking at the actual web page and it's like, that looks exactly like it should have, and it works, and like the animations are there, and it's just super, super satisfying. It's work that I just love. So yeah.
It's so nice to see you so enthused about it, and like big smile on your face when you're telling people about it. It's really nice to see you've enjoyed building it, which is good. I think the thing that struck me, and this is not negative by any stretch of the imagination, it's just when you look at the designs, part of me thinks they should be relatively easy in the block editor, but actually it's when you go into the nuances of it, it becomes actually quite difficult. And I know this client, when we originally quoted for it, the client was like, "Ooh, didn't expect it to be that much." They've understood it and they've gone forward with it in the end. But I can appreciate why, because
me too.
You know, it doesn't look that complicated, but it's only when you get into the details, like you just explained with that. You know, when you go to mobile, well, this happens, and then we've got to do this, and we've got to do this, and that's like with everything that we've done. So it all sort of adds together, doesn't it? And takes time to do, but the end product is looking great.
And the content management side of it as well. Yeah. Like we have to think, what happens if there's more items added? What happens if there's less added? Is everything still going to work? Does it work? You know, like you say, responsively. Like there's so many considerations. Actually, I think we quoted it bang on, and yes, it did feel very expensive whenever we added it all up. But you know, our intuition for it was good, so it was right. I mean, I do wish. I know our business has changed, and like we've never deliberately in any way moved away from building websites. We both really like to do it. It's just the way the market is. Maybe we've taken our eye off the ball slightly in terms of like marketing and positioning ourselves, because we've got the products as a bit of a safety net, really. But essentially, this is the work that I love to do. I just when I'm in this zone of like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, I'm just in my happy place. I love it.
Yeah. Hi, Elliot. Thank you for listening again. Were the designs given for both desktop and mobile? Is Elliot's question.
Yes, they were.
I thought they were.
Do you know what? I haven't actually really looked at the mobile ones. I've just done what I've thought I should do. It'll be interesting to look back and see if I got any of that right. I built out the desktop and then figured out the mobile, basically.
One thing that's also important to say with this client is they are like they're really trusting of us. So you know, you said you haven't looked. You have looked at the mobile designs. That's not true. You have looked at them. But like they're willing to go with our our expertise and instinct on things when it's right, even though the design might say it's slightly different. If we say like this is a better way of doing it because of X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, they're more than happy to say, yeah, they want us to have that input and that knowledge. So that's also really good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're a very, very good client. I'm just going to look at the mobile site designs now to see how close I
look completely different.
It is a while since I had a proper look. I mean, they can't be drastically different.
No, when I looked at them, what I saw on those designs was very logical. Like things stack as you would expect them to stack, but maybe there are one or two things. There was a menu, wasn't there? That you had to do was quite different. The sort of like the language switcher menu that was quite quirky, wasn't it? Was most of that JavaScript or?
No, none of it. I don't think.
None of it.
So yeah, no. So the quirkiness of the menu was that it used to be we had a region and language menus in the header, and each of them was just a drop down. So there's just like a little, it says region and then it says English, and then you can choose your region. So they've got different geographical regions. So yeah, they were drop downs before standard, and now they push out to the right as you hover over the kind of top level. So if I hover over on my kind of example here, if I hover over region, Germany and Netherlands kind of push out and push the other menu that's beside it to the right to kind of make room for the two words. That's all CSS. So that's just
nice.
And it's not easy CSS because it's very difficult to animate height or width in CSS because you can't animate from 0 to auto. I really hope the browser gods get together and fix that. You can animate from 0 pixels to 100 pixels, height or width, but you can't animate from 0 to auto. So the way to do it is to use grid, and then you can animate the grid template rows from like 0 FR to 1 FR and things like that, or the grid template columns. So you can animate height. It's more complicated than that, but you can animate height and width if you use grid. But because of the markup was fixed, it took me a little while to figure out which bit of it I could actually use grid on, because it kept interfering with the general layout of it. And yeah, it was tricky. But again, very, very satisfying, like, problem to solve. I knew I could do it. I just had to find the way. So yeah, that was good fun.
This is the stuff that like you're really good at, like knowing this stuff. It's you a lot more expertise than I think you'll give yourself credit for. Anyway.
Yeah, I think around the CSS stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not bleeding edge. Like I don't. Yeah, I think I just pick it up. But like, yeah, even using stuff like has and not, and all those kind of selectors, I've used those loads. If this div doesn't have this in it, like all that kind of logic.
Yeah,
and you can do that with hover states and things, so you can kind of detect the hover on a child element and do something to the parent element and stuff like that. So loads and loads of cool stuff you can do with CSS, which
clever.
I love. Yeah.
Elliot says, it is interesting. I get the impression that a lot of agencies are still designing for desktop first and mobile is secondary.
Yep.
I think a lot of designers are doing that, actually. I suppose you mean by agencies, you mean design and development agencies, but obviously we're just, mainly a development agency. Design is part of it, of course. I do think this industry, though, is very desktop orientated. The recruitment industry, or it certainly was 12 to 18 months ago. I'm sure that's grown mobile, don't get me wrong, but I think it still is quite. I could
probably grab you some stats for that, but yeah, I would say that people looking at these kind of sites might there's probably more mobile than you think. I think there is across the.
Yeah, that's why I said 12 to 18 months ago, because I distinctly remember having lots of conversations. I say lots. I'm not talking hundreds. I'm not talking tens. Of customers who were prospective customers and customers that we've worked with, and they still were desktop focused because that's what people were actually looking at the sites on in the whole. But as I said, times are changing and they're changing pretty quickly. So who knows whether that's changed or not.
I just on that point from Elliot as well. As someone who has done design work, I totally get why you go desktop first. I don't know why, but even now, I would want to design a desktop homepage before I design the mobile version. I think it's something about having a bigger canvas to play with. Like you tend to lose things as you go down to mobile. So I want to build the bigger picture where you have everything to play with. And then if that, if the mobile experience means that actually that's superfluous and you don't want that and it might be distracting or whatever, then yeah, fine. Like reduce things for that size. But I think I still think in desktop whenever I'm like designing.
I always think in terms of not the design aspect, but the development. People talk about mobile first in terms of like responsive development.
Yeah.
Do you do that, or are you different?
I haven't.
And my second question to that is, it seems as though the world is telling us that mobile first is the way to go, and I suppose the question is like, why is that better than desktop first down to mobile? I don't know. What's the big, like, you do it like this because these are all the wins you get?
I think possibly I don't know which question to answer first. In terms of like why mobile first is better, I think technically it's easier to develop that way.
Is it more efficient?
Yeah, it's potentially more efficient. So if I'm writing CSS, I can write all, and like I'm just looking at a mobile view and working on the mobile designs, I can just write all my styles. And that, I always find it's better to use min width and max width in my media queries. So like write all your mobile styles, and like most of them will stay the same for desktop too, and then just add a few extra things as the size of the viewport like increases if you're changing font sizes or spacings or whatever. I find
you're probably going to end up with less code.
Way. Yeah, and I think from a design, yeah, I think so. Not necessarily because you could just. No, I think so. I think you do. But then from a design point of view, there's also an argument for mobile first because so many people are using mobile, and quite often it's an afterthought. So people do design these, that we've seen it all the time. People design these fantastic looking interfaces and templates and pages, and you're just like, that looks great, but how the hell does that work on a mobile? And it's an afterthought, and then the mobile version of it becomes some version that was never really thought through, and it's a subpar experience. Whereas with so many people using mobile and the attention spans and everything being low there, I think the idea is that design for that first, make that a really, really great experience, and then it will automatically be a good experience on desktop as well. Like you don't really
just enhance it for desktop,
lose anything, and then you can add things if you really need to. But yeah, there's lots of different ways to think about it. I actually haven't been developing my front end mobile first in this project, and I haven't really thought why. Maybe because I wasn't really looking at the mobile designs. But I just cracked on with it, and then I have had to do a little bit of retrofitting and refactoring once I've decided to like take the mobile view into consideration. So I did make a mistake there, and I probably would have been quicker if I'd done it the other way around.
Good. Good question. Thank you, Elliot. Right, moving on then. I mentioned at the start about restricting API keys. You may have had this email that we got from Google if you have not restricted your API keys properly. If you have, they're all great. So the reason why it was a struggle, because we have server keys and client keys when you're doing things with maps. Obviously, the client key is the one used in the browser when the user types something in a box and then it requests from the Google Places API. So that is restricted by domain. So it only works on this website. But the server key obviously needs to be restricted by something on the server. And every time I sort of said, well, we're just restrict to this IP address, it just broke. It just didn't work and couldn't figure it out. So eventually I just ended up, turning off that API key. As it was a server key, it was less likely to be in the public domain than a browser key, because if you inspect your browser presume you'll be able to see the key in the URL request. So I was determined this morning, right, I'm going to fix this. This is doing my head in. So I went on and had a look at it, and ChatGPT suggested, it's very good actually if you've never used it, suggested if you SSH into the server, which if you know me is no mean easy task, by the way. That fills me with dread to start with. But I got over that hurdle as well. So I'm in the server, and then it suggested do a curl request, which is basically like grab this URL and then see what comes back, which was your query to the Google geocode. So I don't know what it's api.google.com/map/geocode/address equals and your key equals whatever it was. And it'll come back with a failure or a success. So first of all, I did it with the key that was not restricted, and it comes back with a success. So it just gives you all the geo data for that particular location. Then I restricted the key to the IP address of the server, and then it fails. And it comes back, and in the failure, it gives you the IP address that's failed. And it was nothing like the IP address that I put in. It didn't really look like an IP address, so I presume it's an IPv6 address, version 6, like those weird looking ones, not a version 4. Now, why? I have absolutely no idea. Have we set that somewhere? Does spin up use an IP6 address? I have no idea. Or is that a DigitalOcean thing? Anyway, put that IP address into the restriction. Bingo, it works. So the key, and maybe you all know this, and I'm the one that's just learned this, that's fine, is to go into your server, do a request from the server, and it'll tell you why it's failed, and it'll tell you what kind of the IP address that has failed, and therefore you can then start to unblock that particular one. So it's worked on that one, and then we can sort of take that forward going forward. If you're working with other clients and you can't get into the server, though, it might be a bit difficult, obviously. But if you've got access to your own server, you can fully fix it. Anyway, that was my fix, and it seems to be working fine now, which is good.
Yeah.
Cool. Start again. LLM for WordPress, Keith.
Yeah, this is just something I saw Johnny Harris posted on Blue Sky, not this morning. And he says, and on X, we don't mention that. I would love to see a custom LLM for WordPress. It could contain track, the codex, and maybe the plugin repo. I'd love to be able to ask questions of the whole track, like why decisions were made, find duplicate tickets, or find plugins with similar functionality. I just thought that sounded really, really good, really, really sensible. I mean, I don't know the technicalities behind that. Like, do you have to build your own thing, or can you take like ChatGPT and just say all the answers? Like, can you build your own?
Yeah, here's a bunch of stuff to learn from.
I don't know enough about this stuff. I just use some of the tools, but yeah, it sounds really cool. I do wonder how much of that has already been ingested by ChatGPT, or is ChatGPT just too big? Like, it would actually be a lot more accurate if we had an LLM that was just trained on this set of data and like almost nothing else. But then how do you get like the real world text responses if you don't? I don't know how this stuff works, but it sounds cool. And I just think, yeah, hopefully the WordPress AI team, which there is these days, there is one. Hopefully they're looking at stuff like that, because it does sound really cool. I kind of hate talking about AI, but I've started using ChatGPT on my phone a lot more and just asking it questions, like dictating the question. And I'm just like, wow, this feels super futuristic and just really, really good. And you can imagine that for WordPress, like Johnny says, just like ask it some questions and comes up with good answers. So yeah, sounded really cool to me. Just thought I'd flag that. Ramkus retweeted that as well, thinking that it was a really good idea. So yeah,
couple of things from me on that. If like me, you had to ask what LLM meant, it's large language model. So just to get that out there, which Keith explained as like ChatGPT, and then I understood, which is good. The other thing is Matt Mullenweg has replied to Johnny's tweet on X and said, yes. That was it. Yes.
Simply yes. Like,
So
yes, that would be a good idea. Yes, it's coming.
I assume that is, yes, that sounds like a good idea. But anyway, so maybe that will happen. Who knows? But it's worth
Courtney, hi Courtney. She says WooCommerce have published some LLM files which are helpful. What does that mean? What's an LLM file? What does it do? Is it like an instruction for an LLM, or is it something else? I'd love to know what that's all about. Because people talk about, like, I think are they called .llm files that you can add to like websites and stuff now, like a robots.txt, to give like ChatGPT and other LLMs like instructions about your content. I don't know. I guess it's a bit like schema, but for I don't know. It's a world I haven't really touched yet. So that'd be really interesting. Elliot says, believe you can point your ChatGPT to a Git repo. Just point it to the WP dev repo. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking. I've never done anything like that before, like taken ChatGPT and said, look at this thing over here and just absorb all of that. I don't know how to do that, what the limitations are, what the possibilities are, but sounds very cool. Yeah, amazing stuff, really. Terrifying stuff.
terrifying stuff. And Elliot says MCP, I think. I don't know what MCP means, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you help me out there, Keith?
No. I don't know that one. Ask ChatGPT.
The world of acronyms. What was I doing? What was I doing this morning? Oh, I was doing some accounting, that was it. And the accountant sent me over the sort of like, sign this document for the terms and conditions of doing the annual return and the corporation tax and stuff. And then I was reading the first bit of it. It says, if you want such and such a thing, and it's like FCR 102 or FCR, I have no idea what they mean. I'm going to have to go back to them and say, like, this is what I need you for. But then in the email she put in, she said she was looking through the transactions of the latest VAT return. And she said something like, I've highlighted these in blue, and I was just wondering why you're not claiming VAST on these. And I was all in acronym. I was like, what the hell's VAST? I don't know what VAST is. I don't know anything, do I? So I emailed her back. I said, I don't know what VAST is, so you're going to have to explain what it is, so if I know whether I can claim it or not. And she just emailed back and said, I'm sorry, that was a typo. It should have been VAT. It's like, so I was in
desperately Googling what VAST is.
What VAST was, yeah. And I'm the same with LLM, I can't say that, even LLM and MCP. And anyway. There you go. There you go.
Model Context Protocol, apparently. So,
I don't think that helps. Never mind.
A world I need to brush up on, I feel.
Moving on. Last on the list for this week, we've already done 42 minutes, but we'll carry on.
We have.
Is developing with AI quicker?
Yeah. This was an article that I saw. A few people posted it.
What do you think? Let us know in the chat.
Didn't read the article, but basically someone has done the headline, the TLDR, is that organization has done some research into whether or not coding with AI actually speeds you up or slows you down. And their findings were that it slowed people down. And I kind of thought about that for a second. I was like, nah, I'm getting stuff done really fast. And then I just thought, for every time that I'm getting stuff done really fast, there are certain things that I'm leaning on it for that I know I could have done quicker. Like, it's tied me up in knots, giving me wrong answers, sending me down rabbit holes. Whereas if I just trusted the knowledge that I have of my own abilities and done it the old-fashioned way, I probably would have got there quicker. So I think it really depends on the developer. It depends on the type of problem you're trying to solve. It depends on loads of different things, and it's going to get better and better. But there are certainly times on reflection where it has led me down a path that was not productive for a very long time before I'm just like, screw it, I'm just going to Google this instead and find the answer on CSS tricks, the old-fashioned way. So, yeah, I don't know about you. Like, do you have similar experiences? Or?
So I'm Carolina says, it speeds up if you're stuck until it gets you stuck. I get that. But that's what I think. So don't just jump in for AI until you need it. I tend to jump onto ChatGPT when I need it. Like, I've got to this point and I'm stuck. I can't, And often I'm doing that now instead of Googling it. I'll just go to ChatGPT. I'm stuck with this. Rather than starting with AI, I will start with what I know, and then when I get stuck, I will go to use AI. And also, rightly or wrongly, I tend to use AI for specific things. I'm not giving it a massive thing to do. Build me a plugin settings screen. It's something simple rather than, but something simple that I don't know, and doing it that way. And I think that's speeded me up. It has to have speeded me up as a developer. It can't have slowed me down. And you could argue, well, some things it gives you then get stuck on, as Caroline mentioned. But actually, I'd have got stuck on them anyway. Just that it comes from ChatGPT doesn't matter. It's still something I would get stuck on, and I would have come across it slower to start with.
Yeah,
that's my take on it. I think if you start with everything, you'll get stuck.
The animating height or width thing was a really good example of this. I knew I could do it with Grid, and I actually said to ChatGPT, like, show me how to do this. And I was expecting it just to give me some example code, which it did, and it just didn't work. And I was like, and the syntax was all wrong, and it was just wrong. Like, it just, what it was given was wrong. And then you do the classic thing is like, I'm pretty sure you can't, animate between this value and that value. And it's like, yes, of course, you're on the right track. We should change this and blah, blah, blah. And it does that kind of really positive, ignores the fact that it told you the wrong thing in the first place. There's never an apology, is there, with ChatGPT? Or no, there is actually sometimes, probably is.
It's apologized to me, definitely.
Yeah, it does. I was just going to say it does apologize sometimes, but it's relentlessly positive and annoying. But anyway, it's definitely happened to me recently when I knew I should have just Googled for it, found the article that I found like originally, and that's what I did in the end. I went back to doing that. I found an actual article that someone had written and tested. Amazing. Got the code from it, and it worked.
You went to someone's website.
Yeah, amazing. I know. What an experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mark says, if the documentation is weak or I have no idea where to start, then it's quicker to get the basic idea using ChatGPT. Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm stuck here. I can't start. So therefore, I ask ChatGPT, but I try and keep it small. Like, get me started on this thing. But I know it's hard to explain without any sort of examples, but try and keep it short. But that's a good example of where you can get started.
I wish it was better at sense checking itself, just like cross-referencing and just being more sure. Because whenever you do say no, that's wrong, or are you sure about that, then it'll be like, oh no, yeah, you're right, blah blah blah. It'd be cool if it did that before it gave you that original result.
Does it ever not say you're wrong though? If you say, are you sure about that? Does it ever come back and say, I am 100% sure that I am right and you're wrong? It never does that.
No.
Because it's built into the model. It's almost... Yeah. It might not ever come back and say, oh, you're right and I'm wrong. But it never... It's always... I can't remember what I'm trying to say. It's always... it never thinks it's wrong and it never thinks it's right. Because it doesn't have a brain.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's interesting.
I was going to say, who's using AI? I presume most of us are using AI to code these days, aren't we? I started off using ChatGPT, and then I then used the GitHub, what's it called? Copilot, that's what it's called. So I've been using that for a while now. And that seems to work well with my coding because I kind of comment everything. So you write a comment and then Copilot gives you this line of code and you can just hit tab and it works, or you can ignore it, obviously. So that's been good. But I know lots of using Cursor. You're using Cursor, aren't you? That's a different program, though. It's not like with Visual Studio Code. You load a different editor, don't you?
It is. It's a fork of VS Code.
Right. So it's
Cursor.
But it's a different software on your machine that it's not an add-on for VS Code or anything like that. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no. So I've got Copilot kind of built into VS Code, but Cursors are different.
Yeah. The other thing I find useful with ChatGPT, if you haven't seen it, is that it has different models. So I'm using the little Mac app, and at the top you can choose different models, and it gives you an indication as to what they're good for. So if you are coding, it suggests that O4 Mini High, why it's called that, I have no idea. It says it's great for coding and visual reasoning. So I've got that selected when I'm asking it questions about code. But if I'm asking like general stuff, you just go for the GPT 4.0. Is it 0? Is it no? It's an O, isn't it? Which is just as great for most tasks. And then it's got other ones. So have a look at those models. I don't know whether they're free ones or whether we get it because we pay for it. I don't know, but they're there anyway. So I don't know whether everyone gets it.
Interesting. I've just been sent something interesting from Mark. So Mark Halsmead, thank you very much. And he sent me a bunch of text, and it looked like, and I think it is, instructions for ChatGPT. So he's got like a heading saying response style, and it says things like critically important, maximum length 1 to 3 short sentences per response, unless I ask for a more detailed answer, keep it ultra concise, no summaries or repetition, hyperlink all URLs, blah, 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 knowledge-based requirements, prevent hallucinations, only answer questions using information explicitly referenced online. So he's got a localization when providing German text, use grammar as it's used in Switzerland, but not Swiss German. So he's got all these specific instructions to how he wants ChatGPT to respond. And I was like, well, how do you use those? So apparently, there's ChatGPT personalization settings, and you can go to like custom instructions. I can't see.
Is that an LLM file then that Courtney was talking about?
I don't think so.
Different?
No, I think this is different. I think this is an instruction file. So I've used like instructions files in Cursor to say, when you write code for me, make sure you're using WordPress coding standards, you're using modern WordPress development, blah, 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 blah. And this is like that, but for text-based responses, just in ChatGPT generally. So I'm gonna have to try to find where to add that because I can't find it under personalization. Customize ChatGPT. Anything else ChatGPT should know about you? I'm gonna have to have a play. Profile image settings. Yep, I'm on it. We'll do this live. Come on, Mark. Profile image settings. This is great podcasting. No, let's leave that. But like it can be done. So I'm going to give that a go because I think that might really help. Mark says it really helps. So cool. Oh, I hate talking about AI all the time. Boo. But it's where we're at. So
there you go.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up there. We've done a mammoth episode of 52 minutes. A word of warning. That's terrible. We are not going to be here, and I'll boo sad for the next few weeks. We've got some holidays planned. That's all. So I'm away, Keith's away, various things. So I think we're going to be back, all being well, on August the 15th, unless one of us decides to do an impromptu episode on their own. But that will be the next sort of normal episode, I think, looking at the diary where we're both back here. So August the 15th should be the next episode, which is almost a month, isn't it? Which is, there you go, for 127. Other than that, thank you ever so much for joining us. We had quite a few people watching or listening online, which is nice to see. Thank you for your questions, your enthusiasm, and your comments and things. It's always appreciated. And again, if you could share this around with some other people, make sure you subscribe and like the video. That would also really help. Until a month's time or so, we will see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.